Time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. And we'll start with the recent comments by the chairman of Air Peace, Alan Onyema, about British Airways engineering a conspiracy to stifle his airline's new Lagos to London operations, which may have triggered cutthroat competition on that route. Already, there are reports of an over-the-top price war going on. Regular flyers on the busy routes are evidently smacking their lips about this situation. However, there has been a hint of concern as well from those who say that there is an urgent need for regulatory services to step in and protect the interests of travelers in all of what's going on. Well, last week we were, of course, congratulating Air Peace on their inaugural flight. And as expected, there has been a reduction on airfares between the Lagos and London route. But I want to say that I think I've noticed a reduction of airfare on all routes in the last week. We see the Abuja, London routes, we see routes to Dubai, and we see, Qatar or routes to France, which have also reduced in prices. Yeah. And it seems that this immediate reduction, since it's being felt on different routes and not just the Lagos to London route, would make one think that it's not solely about Air Peace's introduction into the market. Of course, market forces do respond if there's a lower price, if there's greater competition, then market forces will respond to that. Other airline carriers, especially international carriers, will respond to the lower prices coming into the market. But also we did see that the CBN did announce that the backlogs, the Forex black backlogs had been cleared just around the same time. It seems that the Naira has strengthened in the last month, I think, as the best performing currency in the world in the last month. So we are seeing some positive economic indicators that it's not solely due to the Air Peace introduction into that market. But it is a very positive thing for the average Nigerian consumer if Air Peace is forcing these other airlines to reduce their prices to charge fairer ways for Nigerian customers, which would mean, I believe, that if it is an attack on their business, if they are charging less than marginal cost, that the FCCPC should step in. But obviously, we would not know if that's actually the case unless there's an investigation done by the federal government.
Well, I mean, the point really is that at the end of the day, the consumer gains, but you know that this is a temporary thing, particularly from the response by all the other, airlines. Are there economic indicators that have somewhat forced them to reduce prices? Maybe. I mean, it's part of the explanation that the Association of Foreign Airlines, have given in response to what the chairman and CEO of Air Peace gave about the fact that, this is a price war and it's targeted at Air Peace. That's Dr. Alan Onyema. But of course, if you look at it, you don't need any special skills to see that this is in response to the beautiful, inaugural flight and the consistency, that Air Peace has brought on board. Should this be expected? Definitely. And the way to look at it is to say that if all of a sudden in the market and at a time that other airlines, especially those who are flying directly to London, were charging as high as 6 million, as 4 million for economy, flight direct to Lagos, and 7, 8, sometimes 11, and I had, to some extent, 12, 13 for business classes. At a time like that, you now have a disruptor, like Air Peace, coming on board and saying that we have, crunch our figures and we can get Nigerians to fly, or anybody flying us, at 1.2 million economy and 4 million, around 4 million thereabouts, for business class. And all of a sudden, you now have all the other ones, British Airways, Virgin, Air France, KLM, Qatar, Ethiopia, responding and saying that, it's because there are economic indicators. In an economy where you have told everybody that Nigerians were owing you money, and even when a CBN, had cleared some money, they still insisted that some of them, were not getting paid. Even at that, with CBN clearing the money, Naira hasn't gone down, to where it was pre, at Tinubu. And therefore, what has changed? The only thing that has changed that people can see visibly is the introduction of airpeace and what airpeace is doing. And I think that this will continue. We are not sure if those who are now fighting airpeace, in quotes, will be able to take this to the summer, which is when everybody struggles for the market. But gladly, the chairman of airpeace says that they are somewhat fully booked till September. I think there are two key important issues here. It's about the fact that airpeace is ours. And if Nigerians are thinking solely as passengers, we'll be doing a major damage and injustice, not just to airpeace, but to any Nigerian investor who says that we can get this thing done. Why should we trust all the other airlines all of a sudden who say that, we want to fly London 700,000 or 650,000 as we're hearing about, Ethiopian Airlines? At the end of the day, what this says is about the fact that are we willing as Nigerians to support our own? It's bad enough that we will have to get here without, for such a long time without a national carrier. But now we have a flag carrier in airpeace. Maybe others will come. But while we're at it, I think that we're duty bound, to acknowledge, yes, what others are doing and let the customers gain. But for the long run, when we won't get these, freebies, I like to call it, from other airlines, it is airpeace that we will run back to and that we need to support. And I think at the end of the day, yes, it's good the way that Mr. Onyema, is making people understand that this is about us. They are coming for us. But it is important to also say that stick with it, airpeace. And there are areas where you can make Nigerians understand that, one, this is your own, and you have to, stick by it. One is the fact that there's an advantage of flying directly to London. You don't have to go through Casablanca or through Cairo or through Addis Ababa or through Rwanda, Kigali, just because you want to fly cheaper. And that cheaper, as I said, I don't see it extending beyond a certain period. But airpeace will be here. Let it be seen that this is our own. I mean, I flew airpeace, and I can commend, beautifully that it was a beautiful experience. The sort of meals that you are giving, on board, the service, the beauty of the Isiagu, attire that many of the hostesses don, show clearly that this is something that we can support. But of course, where airpeace will do more would be to assure Nigerians that this is not just about the fact that you can fly cheap. Those others will try to fly cheaper on the interim. But the fact that when the chips are down, this is the one that you can call your own. Up the ante, make sure that customer service is friendly, consistency, and everything that will make Nigerians to rely on airpeace. And I think that we must stick with airpeace and support them. The other ones, welcome. Customers will gain, of course. It's temporary and it's reactionary. All right, we move on. The Edo State House of Assembly has impeached and replaced Philip Shaibu, the state's deputy governor, from office after deliberating on the report of the 7-man panel constituted to investigate the allegations of misconduct against him. A new deputy has also been sworn in. Christy Macaulay has more.
Lawmakers stepping into the Edo State House of Assembly complex. Upon getting into the chamber, the major agenda here is the impeachment of Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Shaibu. When the issue was tabled, 18 out of the 19 lawmakers present at plenary voted in support of the impeachment motion, while the only dissenting voice raised constitutional observations that were rejected.
The secrecy oath law of Edo State was cited. Because it is a law written down, it makes it a crime. It is not a civil issue, it's a crime. Only a court of law can convict for crime. And Section 6 of the Constitution vests judicial power on the courts. And by my own understanding, the panel is not a court. So if a court of law has not convicted a man of a criminal offense, you cannot, I believe strongly, that we do not have that power to now impeach on what does not amount to a crime.
The House, after having considered the recommendations of the 7-man panel earlier set up, and upon conclusion of voting, pronounced the impeachment of Philip Shaibu as the Deputy Governor of Edo State.
More than two-thirds majority of this is assembly by head council, not just voting, and the endorsements of the impeachment document the second time. I hereby on my residence pronounce that the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Right Honorable Philip Shaibu, is hereby impeached.
The one that borders on disclosure of official secrets. The panel found the respondent as guilty as charged.
With this development, Philip Shaibu has become the first deputy governor to be so impeached in the political history of Edo State since the creation of the state 33 years ago. To prevent a vacuum and in fulfillment of constitutional provisions, Marvelous Omobayo became the new deputy governor. He was sworn in by the Chief Judge of Edo State at the Government House. The ceremony was attended by dignitaries and traditional rulers from his area, Akoko-Edo local government.
We have gained your trust to continue on our mandates for another term in 2020. But in all of this, at no point in this journey did I envisage that I will have to work with 2 deputy governors before the end of an 8-year tenure in office. But as the Bible says in Proverbs 16, verse 9, you may make your plans, but it is God that directs your actions.
I will try to assist the governor to finish well in the remaining months of his administration. I think that is the very first.
The impeached deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, has been having a running political battle with Governor Obaseki for some years now, and it heightened after Shaibu's attempt to succeed the governor against the wish of Obaseki's anointed PDP governorship candidate, Aswe Igodalo. Christy Macaulay, Arise News.
All right, Philip Shaibu out, Omobayo Godwin in. This is your state. This is a state where you have a lot of interest in and you follow the, all the politics, of Edo State, particularly what led to Philip Shaibu trying to also organize a parallel election, which you have heavily criticized. But I think that for me, it's funny that Philip Shaibu didn't see this coming, because once you stand up like that to confront your principal, you'll be violating one of the principles, of power. Never try to outshine the master and never confront, a big boss who puts you there. But then for me, this isn't just a commentary about Philip Shaibu, himself. I think that I like the fact that he has, said that he will challenge this, that he won't stand. I think that he should go for it. It's bad that, you're the first deputy governor in the history of Edo State, that will be impeached. But he won't be the first deputy governor. I think he will be the 17th, actually, in the history of our democracy, that will be impeached. But I think this is also a commentary about the type of politics that the governor, Godwin Obaseki, plays. I saw in the report there, see him quoting the Bible, and I think that that's self-serving and rather frivolous. The commentary about him will be that this is a man who couldn't work with a godfather that assisted him into power, and at the end of the day, the ally that he had for more than 6, 7, almost 7 years before things fell apart, between them, Philip Shaibu is deputy, and that's at the end of the day, he still couldn't work with him till the end. Yeah, it is Philip Shaibu that is out of office, but the commentary, in my opinion, is also about the governor, and that says something about his person.
Well, I would have to disagree there.
It's my opinion.
Yes, I know. I would have to disagree with your opinion. I think my opinion, especially about this matter, I do think it does say quite a few things about our democracy, that we have 17 deputy governors that have been impeached, especially when it comes to power plays with their principals, when it comes to a power play between the governor and the deputy governor. I don't think this has much to do with Godwin Obaseki's actual personal, I would say, ability to have relationships with people, because we did see in Edo State that Philip Shaibu was working against the party, against this idea of, the rotation of power, against some principles which he himself had claimed to hold personally. And when you do work against these party interests, beyond your interest of just the governor himself, allegedly, I mean, there have been, images of him, engaging with members of other parties, especially with the upcoming elections.
Same thing that Obaseki did in retaining power.
Yes,
Same thing he did.
But then, at the end of the day, you do have political consequences when you put your own political future over the administration of a state government. Because ultimately, as we've spoken about, when we do have issues between governors and their godfathers, or deputy governors and the governor, is that the people of the state suffer when somebody's personal political ambitions come ahead of their role and their job, whether that is the role of a deputy governor, whether it's the role of the governor. If you put yourself and your ambitions over the people of your state, then there will be consequences. And whether those consequences are political, whether those consequences are at the poll, whether they are financial, whether they have to do it with administration of the actual state, those consequences will be felt and they will be shared. So I'm not surprised. Obviously, I don't think anyone is surprised that Philip Shaibu ended up being impeached. At the end of the day, we do have the Edo State elections that are coming up shortly, and we're going to see, I would say he's going to continue to play a factor in it. Did I think he needed to be impeached? No. But also, at the end of the day, we do have a lot of these issues, I would say, about the mandate that is given to a party versus the mandate that's given to a person, and what we expect from our elected officials. We see it in the Senate when people skip and hop from one party to another. We see it when it's our governors or our deputy governors who want to become governors after the term of their principal and maybe jump to another party, like we've seen in Lagos in the past. So these things, it does seem, as you say, to be power plays. And at the end of the day, your role is not as a power player. Your primary motivation should not be your personal ambition. It should be the role that you were elected to serve.
And I believe that he has served that role, and his only offense is that he expressed interest, in ruling the state, and he had every right, to aspire, But we see. There's nothing that says that what the House of Assembly has done is final. He has a right to approach the court, and I think that he's doing the right thing. Till November, we'll see what happens. He will continue to be a factor in Edo State, I believe.
Yes, let's take the next story, as Nigeria's health regulator says it has recalled a batch of Johnson & Johnson children's cough syrup after finding an unacceptably high level of a potentially fatal toxic substance. The batch being recalled was made in South Africa in May of 2021 with an expiry date of April 2024. The regulator called on those bottles from that batch to discontinue use or sale and to submit them to its nearest office. Laboratory tests on Benylin Pediatric showed a high level of diethylene glycol, which has been linked to deaths of dozens of children in Gambia, Uzbekistan, and Cameroon since 2022, in one of the world's worst waves of poisoning from oral medication. According to a notice posted on its website, Nigeria's National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control said the syrup was used to treat cough and congestion-related symptoms, hay fever, and other allergic reactions in children aged between 2 and 12.
I think that NAFDAC should basically be commended, for being alert, to their role. We've seen in the past, such instances where manufacturers with big names all of a sudden, will drop the ball and fatalities will be recorded, whether in terms of vaccines or in terms of oral, medications and things like that. The fact that NAFDAC as a regulator stepped up and swiftly recalled this product. Yes, from South Africa, but of course they have also said that this will be escalated, to the very highest level, so that there could be consequences and if possible, compensation for those who might be affected. I think this is the way that a regulator, should work. Don't wait till the last minute with several fatalities before we now say, oh, we didn't know, or that something happened. So for me, I commend NAFDAC, and I think that if there are individuals whose words or children might have been affected, don't keep quiet. Supply information so that NAFDAC can be better equipped in seeking compensation and seeking consequences against the manufacturers.
I mean, I definitely agree. We always need to be proactive with these things, but I think my main concern is that the syrup expires this month. It's a batch that was produced 2 years ago. So I do wonder...
2021?
2022, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe. But the syrup expires in April of 2024. We are currently the 13th of April 2024. So I would imagine that, was the batch not tested before it was actually put out to the market? Was the ball dropped before we got here? Because the indication is that this drug has been available and on the market at least for a period of time. It's supposed to be off the shelves in the next 2 weeks. So it does seem like a last minute action, and I would hope that the ball wasn't dropped, because it does raise the question of, are we getting medication that are out on the streets, that are out being consumed by Nigerians and children before they are actually batch tested? So I think that even though we should commend NAFDAC for making this notice public, we also need to have a question about how this drug was in the market for so long.
Without being detected?
Yes, without being detected.
You're very correct. The conversation around it, should continue so that we have the full details of what is happening. Commendation, yes, is in order, but then full disclosure is also important.
Definitely.
All right. Tributes are pouring in for the first executive governor of Abia State, Ogbonnaya Onu, who died this week at the age of 72. President Tinubu has sent his condolences to the Onu family, and other prominent Nigerians have been celebrating his life. Our Rice correspondent, Gbenga Shiru, captures the life and times of the former Minister of Science and Technology.
Like the force of time, death comes as the final destination for every man. Such unquestionable mystery once again catches up with one of Nigeria's most brilliant minds and political juggernauts, Ogbonnaya Onu, as he takes his final bow to the world beyond. As a first-class graduate of chemical engineering from the University of Lagos, Onu proceeded to the University of California to obtain his doctorate degree. From lecturing, Onu's progression took a daring turn into the world of politics, becoming the first executive governor of Abia State in 1992. In 1999, he took a shot at the nation's top job as the presidential flag bearer of the All People's Party, but later relinquished the position to Olufalaye following a merger between his party, APP, with the Alliance for Democracy, AD. The merger eventually lost to former President Olusegun Obasanjo of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Onu went ahead to become the national chairman of the All Nigerian People's Party. In 2013, his party, ANPP, successfully midwifed another merger with the Action Congress of Nigeria, Congress for Progressive Change, and some political groups to form the All Progressive Congress, APC. The power challenged the Goodluck Jonathan's government and eventually ended it by taking over the reins of power in 2015, with Muhammadu Buhari sworn in as Nigeria's president. Under President Buhari's government, Ogbonnaya Onu was then appointed Minister of Science and Technology. In 2022, he contested for the presidential ticket of the All Progressive Congress, but lost out to Bola Tinubu, who emerged the party's flag bearer and eventually won the general election, becoming the second president under the APC platform. President Tinubu, while mourning Onu, celebrated him as an accomplished scholar, first-class engineer, a man of proven integrity, defiant to indiscipline, but ever yielding to the highest standards of rectitude. He said Ono epitomizes Nigeria in concord and wholeness as a late statesman, quote, believed in and defended Nigeria's unity, advocated peace, and promoted fellowship across the Niger. Other notable politicians who have also eulogized Onu for his immense contributions to the development of Nigeria include Peter Obi, Orji Kalu, and Uche Oga, who all expressed sadness over the passing of the former minister. Benga Ashiru, Arise News.
Our condolences to the family of Dr. Ogbonna Onu. Certainly one of the finest, one of the best type in terms of, politics as a politician in this part of the world. He was decent, he was a good man, he was a man of integrity. And I like, the way that President Ashwaju, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu spoke glowingly about his virtues. He will be remembered for mainly good reasons. As a former governor of Abia State, even though that was short-lived, as one of the key men who made the merger of all the political parties in 2013 possible, because he was the chair, of ANPP. It wasn't just Buhari CPC or Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ACN. He also played a part, and I think that when he decided to run for presidency last year, especially during the primaries, he spoke glowingly about the injustice of not allowing power to go to the southeast, at this time around. He spoke about where is the justice, where is the fairness. And a lot of people actually thought that if there was going to be consideration at all by the former President Buhari, or even by the party, as to the possibility of taking power to the southeast, that he probably would be one of the most qualified and the preferred choice. But of course, that didn't happen. He's no more now, but of course, I believe that his legacy, will continue to shine. I like the fact that, President Tinubu has celebrated him. I believe that a good number of people will continue to celebrate him because he was one of the finest breeds of politicians that we had around.
Definitely, legacy of a true Democrat and a statesman that contributed to his country and left an indelible mark on a lot of people. From the glowing tributes that we can see, he left a mark not just as a statesman, as an ex-governor, but also as a person, and impacted a lot of people in the country. So it's a loss for Nigeria as well as his family, and our sincere condolences.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to move to our next story, which is about OJ Simpson. Could OJ Simpson's infamous 1995 trial be credited with the creation of reality TV? Whilst the jury is still out about whether OJ Simpson will be remembered as a hero or a villain after he succumbed to a battle against cancer on Thursday, the conversation has turned to how millions were glued to their screens as cameras followed the infamous Ford Bronco down the Los Angeles interstate in a car chase and trial that redefined live TV broadcasts till date. The live broadcast of the verdict gripped viewers globally, even though they held mixed reactions. Let's take a look.
Mrs. Robinson. Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of
Well, I'm sure I will not be remembering OJ Simpson as a hero. Definitely not.
Hero villain.
Definitely not as a hero, not to black people, not to sportsmen, and definitely not due to his infamous trial and his and also the following years and his subsequent convictions and his subsequent behavior. I would say as a a celebrity, obviously he was a celebrity before, but also what we saw come after that. The OJ trial is such an interesting focal point, I would say, especially when you contrast it with the Black Lives Movement matter that came about like 20 years later. Because we did see, a lot of people do talk about OJ Simpson's trial being a very focal racial point in America, especially in Los Angeles, following the Rodney King, trials and the acquittal of the policemen. And when you had the Black Lives Matter movement happen 20 years later, 2015, 2014, that you did see the acquittal of George Zimmerman when it came to, the death of these young black men, that we saw the I Can't Breathe movement, when you had the death of black men in the hands of police in America. So I think O.J. Simpson's trial does have significant cultural value, especially when it shines a light on racial politics in America. But this is also a man who said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. So I don't see him as a hero, but he did live a very colorful, eventful life. The families of his former wife, Nicole Simpson, and her partner, who were killed in the trial that he was acquitted of, have obviously released their own statements. It's always going to be a mixed reaction. I think he was found innocent, so he is innocent in the eyes of the law, even though he wrote a book saying, I did it. So,
I mean, wasn't it interesting that the White House, in saying something about his death, cleverly, left out the Nicole, Simpson part of it. I mean, it's gone now, but of course we'll continue to speak about what he represented, and I think that you have analyzed it correctly. Will he be a hero to some people? I saw the statement by his family, and how. They try to, of course, package the narrative, about him. I also think that his death should, bring further attention, particularly for men, to cancer, especially, prostate cancer, as it affects men and things like that. He lived to be 76, but again, may God bless his soul. He's gone.
Yes.
All right, then, that's all there is on the week that was. But before we get to our first guest, let's bring you up to date with some of the news that are making the rounds today. And we begin with this one about the crisis over the selection of a new Olubadan of Ibadan land, likely reaching a resolution with yesterday's nomination of the current Balogun of Ibadan land, Obawolabi Akinloye Olakuleyin, as the 43rd Olubadan of Ibadan land. The Kingmakers, who are also members of the Olubadan Council, ratified the nomination of Olakuleyin at a meeting held at the ancient Mapo Hall. The meeting, which started around 11 a.m., ended some minutes after 12 p.m. The Olubadan stool became vacant as a result of the death of the 42nd holder of the title, Oba Olalekan Balogun, who joined his ancestors early last month. All members of the Olubadan Council present at the meeting ratified the nomination of Olakuleyin made by the O.C. Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Lateef Adebimpe.
Yes, and another story is the Chibok kidnapped 10 years ago. 276 schoolgirls were kidnapped from a school by Boko Haram militant group on the 14th of April 2014. Global outrage was swift, and a ubiquitous movement, Bring Back Our Girls campaign, drew support from several prominent figures, including former U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama and actor Sylvester Stallone. Then in 2016 and 2017, negotiations led to the highly publicized release of around 80 of the girls. 10 years on, about 100 more remain missing. For the victims and their families, it's been an ongoing tragedy.
When I remember this, my doctor, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. Because she's the only best doctor among those I have that the God gave me. So I will never forget her. I will never forget her. In fact, I will never forget her. She said that she spent a week with her because she is her auntie. She said that when I go and meet her, she have 2 children.
And that's all on the week that was.